welcome to Pop Culture Posi-Cast. This is the show where we find all the good stuff in items of pop culture. That could be movies, music, comics, TV shows, you name it, and we're going to find the fun stuff in it. I am Peppy, and joining me as always is my co-host, Jazzy Jarrod.
Hello, Pat.
Hi, Jazzy Jarrod.
I am happy to be here.
You are. Why?
I'm just kidding. I'm peppier than that.
You don't sound so jazzy.
I'm jazzy. Of course I'm jazzy. I'm happy to be here, man. Now, before we tackle today's topic, I'm going to do a quick reminder to our audience of what the mission is of this podcast. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to tackle maybe a controversial or a generally disliked item of pop culture. We're going to give you our honest overall feelings on it. But most importantly, we're going to shine a light on the positive aspects of today's feature. Here's what we're not going to do. We're not going to try to convince you to like something you don't like. If you don't like whatever it is we're talking about, that's okay. We're also not going to encourage fandom battles. We don't want to see people in our social media comments battling each other. Oh, this sucks. No, you suck. The blah, blah, blah. Hey, let's all take the high road, folks. And we're not here to tell anyone you're wrong. You know, if you are not the biggest fan of our topic, once again, that's okay. We're not saying you're wrong for that, but we are going to go out of our way to find the good stuff in what we're going to talk about today.
That's right. Like I said in the opener, we're 100% about finding the good in everything. And you know what? Sometimes we're 110%.
But it carries over to the next episode, so you have to tune into the next podcast.
Yes, exactly. But we are all about it. And as an added bonus, every episode will end with a segment called the Positively Practical. That's where Jazzy Jarrod has been in the communication and leadership training business for over 20 years. So he's going to give us some practical advice that you can incorporate into your everyday life at the end of every episode. And that's not only for you, but I also like incorporating it for my life as well, too. So we're going to enhance your life skills while we talk about fun pop culture stuff. So you know what? Let's get started.
Let's do exactly that, Pat. On this episode of Pop Culture Posi-Cast, we are going to be finding the good in Howard the Duck from 1986.
Across the sea of stars lies another world, a world almost exactly like ours. This is where he lives. He's 27 years old, single but searching. Favorite sports, windsurfing and Aikido. Favorite pastimes, cigars and sex. He has everything except fulfillment. And then one night, it happens.
Hey, good buddy, are you home?
He has a very sudden midlife crisis. He lands in Cleveland.
You know why you were sent to me?
Listen to me, small visitor. I can explain how you got here.
Maybe you're here for some greater purpose, some cosmic cause.
Here, he's forced to reassess his career goals.
You went to med school?
To explore new relationships. To redefine his self-image.
I'm sorry, we don't allow pets on the premises.
To adjust to a changing lifestyle.
Pull it out!
Until he discovers just who he really is.
Oh, no.
A duck in big trouble.
That's a duck, man.
Howard the Duck, trapped in a world he never made. Coming from George Lucas, a Willard Hike film, a Gloria Katz production.
All right, the first step in every Posi-Cast is to give you our honest thoughts. We will always start by being upfront with you on how we feel about our topic. It's important to remember that even if we aren't super keen on something, that doesn't mean we can't find some good in it. So let's get going on our segment called Honest Talk.
You want answers?
I think I'm entitled.
You want answers?
I want the truth!
You can't handle the truth!
How do you feel about Howard the Duck, Jarrod, overall?
I have an interesting relationship with Howard the Duck, Pat, in that I saw Howard the Duck for the first time within the last couple of years. I didn't see it in the 80s. I never caught it on VHS. I finally caught up to it a couple of years ago.
Okay.
My honest thoughts about it are very mixed. There are some things about it that I think are incredibly good, and we'll get into that. We have a whole segment for that. And then there are things about it that I think are just incredibly bizarre. But it has some bizarrely sexual things in it. There's a lot of sexual humor. There's duck boobies involved at the very beginning.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, it's such a silly concept of Howard the Duck that my 9-year-old son wanted to watch it as well. And I remembered enough of it from a couple of years ago to kind of pre-screen it. And I was like, this is just, it's like right on that. Like, it's weird that it's rated PG. I think it should have been rated PG-13. Right? I think it should have been. But this was in the early era of that rating.
I was going to say, was this around when the 13, I can't remember.
The 13 really kind of reared its head sometime around 84, around Temple of Doom and Red Dawn.
Okay.
That's when
this was started.
Yeah. So this was early on in that. So my biggest sort of what does, if you will, around this movie is a decent portion of the humor is sort of sex related, which is kind of bizarre. The other thing about it that I think maybe the biggest thing that stuck out to me as a negative is I don't think Howard is charming or endearing in any way. Like, I think you really needed the character. I don't know if it's the voice actor or the lines that were written, but he's just not.
Comes off flat.
I don't know. Almost annoying to me anyway. Like he meets the Tim Robbins character. And the Tim Robbins character, although fascinated by Howard, really has Howard's best interest in mind at all times. But he's a real jerk to him. He's a real jerk to the Tim Robbins character for like no reason other than the guy's enthusiastic. And that's just a small example. I just find everything that Howard says to be, I don't know. I think they were going for edgy, like sarcastic and edgy, and they thought that'd be like real fun. But it didn't. It fell a little flat. When I think of sort of like that edgy kind of sarcastic character, I kind of think of Sonic the Hedgehog, which we've had 2 movies of, and they were able to get away with that and still have Sonic maintain his fun lovability. And I just didn't feel that with Howard. I've gone for a while, Pat. Those are my 2 biggest things. Bizarrely, too much sexual content for a movie of like this. I think. I don't know how it matches up against the comics. I never read the comics.
I was going to ask you that. Yes, I was going to ask you if you read any of the Howard the Duck, especially around in this.
Yeah, I came across a run of Howard the Duck. I want to say they were from the late 70s or early 80s.
Okay.
At a yard sale, but honestly, I think I sold them before I got a chance to read them. I don't know if the comics lean more into sexual humor, but still, it's really weird to sort of market this PG-rated first foray of Marvel in a way. It's a duck living, anthropomorphic duck living amongst society, and it's all done practically. There's a lot of kid attraction to that, and then the writing just doesn't seem to match.
Yeah.
Anyway, back to you, Pat.
No, I think you're right on that. I am kind of feeling the same way. It was interesting, but then also parts that were bizarre. Well, just, like you said, just parts that weren't right were off with me.
Just felt weird.
Felt kind of.
I mean, it's a fascinating movie, and there's a fun factor.
Yeah, and we can get to that. The fun factor about it as well too. Like you, I can't say I saw this in the theaters at all. What I do remember about Howard the Duck, I probably watched it 5-10 times, just because in the 80s after it came out, it was, Showtime, HBO, just playing over and over again. So that's where I watched it, and I remember watching it, but haven't watched it since then. So I'd say, in the 90s and past that, I haven't watched it. Only probably in the reruns or in the showings on the HBO or Showtime. What sticks out to me, whenever somebody says Howard the Duck, I got that end song in my head. Howard the Duck. The minute we picked this one, that's what came to my head. And I'm like, ooh, when are they going to get to that song? When are they going to get to that song? And it comes, of course, at the end. So that's my thoughts on Howard the Duck. I've never read a Howard the Duck comic. I've heard he's kind of likes to joke and kind of, is he this kind of brashy kind of guy or brashy kind of duck, where he doesn't give a duck and just does what he wants to do and say what he wants to say. I don't know. So I can't really compare it to the comic. So anybody listening, if you could help us out with that, like at the time this was made, I'm assuming it came out in 86, so 85, late 84, they probably started doing some stuff, maybe even earlier. I'm not quite sure, just because of, what it took to make this kind of a live action is interesting.
There you have it, folks. So our honest thoughts.
Right, yeah.
Yeah, we've got, well, like you said, we have a whole segment of the show we're going to focus on the positive. But in the end, I am really of two minds of this movie. Like, yeah. I think it's fascinating. I think everyone should see it because of its fascination and its use of really cool practical effects and whatnot. We'll get to that.
Mm-hmm.
But it is just it's uneven and weird.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we've seen a lot of different weird and uneven films.
When we decided to do Pop Culture Posi-Cast, we've been to Zardoz,
Yeah, we've been there. We've been to Waterworld.
We've been to Waterworld. Waterworld was underrated, but that movie was good. I don't care what people say. Anyways, that's what we think about it. Sounds like Pat and I are kind of middle of the road on it. There's some things we like, some things that we find a bit more challenging. But hey, speaking of things that are challenging.
Yes, Jarrod. What is challenging?
Now that people know how we feel, it's time to find out what the internet has to say in a segment we call The Pit of Despair.
Where am I?
The Pit of Despair. Don't even think.
Don't even think about trying to escape. The chains are far too thick.
During The Pit of Despair, I get the unenviable task of finding the more common negative opinions on today's topic found on social medias and those internets. And Peppy, Pat, and I will address 3 of the more interesting ones that I found. And usually our good friend Delvin takes care of reading the comments for us. Let's get to comment 1.
A whopping boondoggle of sheer notoriety that replaced Heaven's Gate as the most embarrassing miscalculation in Hollywood history. This flick immediately humanized George Lucas. It proved that even he can make a bomb.
Pat, your thoughts?
I was surprised when I was watching the opening credits and it did say George Lucas. I'm like, oh, yeah, that's right. He was involved in the making of this movie, which surprised me. And I can see where this comment is kind of coming from. Was it just like Heaven's Gate? I don't know what that movie is.
I've seen it. It's a Western. It has Christopher Walken in it and Christopher Christopherson. It's pretty good, but it's famous because they spent a lot of money on it, big budget, and it made almost nothing. And that's what he's saying here. He's saying that, I don't think this movie did well.
No,
at the box office.
I didn't get a chance to look at the box office for this. Again, I just remember watching it, on HBO, Showtime. It must have made somewhat of an impression on, kids our ages because we all remember it, right? There's got to be some reason why we remember it.
True.
But did it humanize George Lucas? Yeah, I can see where it kind of brought him down after this 86. Jedi was 84-ish, right? Around at that time.
Jedi was 83.
Oh, 83. Okay. So, yeah, I can see where, Lucas is riding that wave of Star Wars and then decides to do this. And it's interesting. I don't know, Jarrod, what's your thoughts? It's hard to say on this one.
Yeah, I mean, I can't be mad at this commenter because it's really sort of just saying it didn't perform well. Like you said, it humanized George Lucas because everything George Lucas had really sort of touched up to that point in Hollywood was sort of gold. And this wasn't. It's interesting because you can see, again, we have a section for this coming up, but you can see the high production value. You can see the influence.
You can definitely see that, yeah.
Of George Lucas in there. But yeah, it's just.
I think the editing, and maybe I'll get right to it on this one, is the first 40 minutes or so, it kind of jumps around really quick, doesn't it?
And yet somehow manages to drag a little. I don't.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
It's weird.
It's weird. It jumps around, and then once you get to the action-y part of it, where you get to the whole plot of him getting put there and Earth's going to get invaded, and then it starts that whole sequence. That's when I liked it, and I'm like, "Ooh, this is getting pretty, interesting," and had some fun. There's some crazy parts in it, but it's that buildup that got there. It's like it jumped around. It's like he had to go get a job, or they broke their friends for like one day or a couple hours or something. And then they break up or being friends, and
it
go get a job. And
it felt like they just want to keep putting Howard into what they thought were funny situations.
Yeah.
One of the first things that jumped out to me when you went to watch this for the show, I pulled it up. I have it on my Plex. So when I pulled up, it gives me some of the basic info. And one of the things that leapt off the screen to me was an hour and 50 minutes. I was like, they got almost 2 hours out of Howard the Duck. It really should have been a tight 90, but
yeah.
So anyway, oftentimes in Pit of Despair, we sort of rebut the commenter, but I don't know this one needs any rebuttal. I think he's right. I think it's just a misfire for Lucas. And
yeah, definitely. Yeah. Sometimes
you know what?
Sometimes they break a few eggs.
Hey,
there's some positiveness in there.
Let's get into it. We're in the Pit of Despair anyway, so let's get into the second comment.
Now this is hands down one of the stupidest ducking movies ever made.
And that's the comment. It's pretty straightforward. This person contends that this is one of the stupidest movies ever made.
Yeah, I would have to say to whoever wrote this, I hear what you're saying, but obviously you're not digging deep enough to find really stupid ones. I mean, I can tell you some stupid movies. Jarrod has been sitting by me on a couch recently.
I almost forgot.
And you want an example. I'm going to name that movie. It is called Rollerblade 7.
Yeah.
Go watch it.
It's not part 7. It's about rollerbladers, I guess. I don't know.
You go watch that and then compare it to Howard the Duck.
Oh, you'll be thankful you watched Howard the Duck.
Yeah. I get what they're saying. Yeah, I guess I wish I had more Howard Duck the comic references that I could go by to go, it's kind of all right or that, but I can't. So is it the stupidest one I've seen? For me, no. Maybe for that person, I guess yes. If they haven't ventured out, but I would dare you to find, and believe me, there is a veritable plethora of movies out there.
Yeah, you just brought up Rollerblade 7, possibly the worst movie I've ever seen. And I have seen Santa and the Ice Cream Bunny. I've seen
just
Birdemic. All the, I'm
Mystery Science Theater.
I'm a big fan of Mystery Science Theater, so I've watched all that stuff. So yeah, stupidest movie ever made. No, well, he did. In fairness, he said one of the stupidest movies, and
with the money they probably got to make it.
Yeah, the whole budget to payoff thing, I could kind of understand. And I know we're in the Pit of Despair here, but reading into this comment a little bit, I will have to agree that stupid's a strong word, but like, I don't know. I just felt like a lot of the humor didn't land. Like, I didn't find myself laughing a lot. It's a lot of sort of like, look at this wacky situation that Howard's in now, like, oh, I didn't know I was standing on this thing that was going to get lifted up. Oh, it's a lot of that. Oh, who would have guessed it? Oh, now I'm on a ceiling fan. Whoa, it's like,
now I'm putting pies in people's faces.
3 in a row. Like, oh my goodness.
Oh, and then the puns on it. Oh man.
So from that point of view, okay, yeah, it's pretty stupid, but you kind of got to know what you're getting into. That's how I'm going to respond. Sometimes you just got to know. Sometimes you got to know I'm going to this movie to watch some straight up silliness.
Yeah. If you're watching it nowadays and going back to watch it, come on. You know what you're getting into.
Yeah. If you're going back to watch it now, you know what you're doing. Yeah. You know what's up. All right. Let's get to our third and final Pit of Despair comment.
This movie has put to question what terrible cinema truly is at its core. I'm honestly disgusted with myself after having seen this movie.
My feathers are ruffled.
Oh, Pat, were you disgusted with yourself?
No, I don't think I was. I think you mention it, some of the sexual comments and things like that. Possibly, maybe that's what this commenter is talking about. Was I disgusted? No. Like we just said, I knew what I was going to get into in rewatching it. I knew certain parts or certain things. At its core, hey, they tried something. It just didn't work,
Yeah, I don't know about disgusted with myself because I've seen
We've seen,
I've seen Santa and the Ice Cream Bunny. I've put myself through some stuff, man.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I do get it. They went out of their way to show us that he had a duck-sized condom in his wallet. Like, why? Why?
Oh, Howard.
It was a bizarrely tense sexual scene between him and what was that guy? That's the gal from Back to the Future.
It is Leah Thompson. Yeah, she's that's one of my good stuff.
I could see why. You like that crimped hair. I just know you did.
Yes. Oh, yeah. Oh, man. That is so 80s.
But anyways, this dude said, this puts the question what terrible cinema truly is. Again, you got to dig deeper. Rollerblade 7. That's my response to that. Disgusted with myself for having seen this one. I don't know. I think this was too strong of a language, but I get what he's saying. If he's like, because we did talk about it was dang near 2 hours. He might have been like, I just spent 2 hours.
Yeah.
And if you spent 2 hours on it not knowing what you were getting into, okay, fair enough.
I'll go back to somebody that says something like, well, you just wasted my 2 hours on it. No, they didn't waste it. You wasted it. You always have the choice to turn it off, get up and walk away. You don't have to finish the movie unless you want to finish the movie just so you could go out there and, crap on it. But then what are you actually doing? That ain't being positive, It's okay to just walk away. You know what I mean? It's not for you. If it's not for you, put it down. Don't force yourself. Go on to the next thing.
Yeah, I hear what you're saying. I do that a fair amount in my video game playing.
Exactly. That's what I'm saying.
I put in, 30, 45 minutes. I'm just not feeling it. I'll just try something else. Good advice, Pat.
All right. Well, with some good advice, let's go ahead and get into Give Me the Good Stuff. That means we did survive and crawled our way out of the pit of despair with some positivity at the end. With that, let's get into Give Me the Good Stuff. And during Give Me the Good Stuff, Jarrod and I will each reveal our list of 3 things or so that we liked about today's feature. So let's get cracking.
I can't help but notice you said 3 things or so.
That's so bad.
He's got way more than 3 things written down.
Jarrod, give me some good stuff about Howard the Duck.
Can do, Pat. I can do. I certainly hope people who love this movie have stayed tuned into this episode all the way to this point because we're about to glow this movie up for the things that it deserves to be glowed up for. Pat, you probably, upon your repeat viewing, well, I don't know if you're senior enough in your agency, but did you notice who did the score?
No, Jarrod, I did not even look at that.
Is John Barry. John Barry from the James Bond movie series, which I love John Barry's music, be it in Bond, be it The Black Hole is one of my favorite movie scores of all time, period. Okay. That's a Barry. Barry's music is all over the place. He's been in tons of other movies outside of Bond. And man, I could absolutely tell that he was just coming off of A View to a Kill. It is a lot of similar sounds and themes between his A View to a Kill score and this one.
Okay, so you're a little more astute, or your ear is a little more tuned into that. But I would have to say the score was fine for me. I didn't think anything less or anything more of it.
I definitely liked it, but I also felt like because it is an 80s movie centered around a character in a band, that is, the score takes a lot of backseat to a lot of the sort of the 80s pop rock of the time, which, will lead nicely into another positive point. The 80s pop rock of the movie was a lot of fun.
It was good. Yeah, definitely. I enjoyed it. I liked, again, that song, Howard the Duck. I remember the chorus. And so it obviously had that influence, or that, that grabbing kind of a thing that I remember so much about it is that theme music for it. One of the good stuff that I liked about it was, and you brought this up, the effects, right? It was really practical I should say it was practical in Howard's effect, right?
Oh, yeah.
In that part. At the end with the other alien and that gets a little,
I mean, there's still practical effects. There's not like CGI really involved, but
some layering of different things.
Yeah, they're getting into a lot more effects shots. Like Howard was just like an animatronic head on probably a child or a little person.
On a little, and that's what I noticed. I'm like, you know what made it more believable? If you could, to me, to take a tagline from another movie, I could believe a duck could talk.
Yeah, the animatronic like head and expressions and all that was really well done.
Mm-hmm. The character, the person inside acting, the arm movements and all that really brought that to life for me. That I'm like watching this. I'm like, yeah, this works for me. Comparing that to what I saw in, the Marvel MCUs where they do show Howard the Duck, kind of in those areas. I wish it would have been this Howard. You know what I mean? That would have been really cool.
It would have been awesome.
Yeah, that would have been kind of cool to see, just that melding of it. But it felt more realistic to me, especially when interacting with the human characters.
Yeah, all that was really well done. It's all practical effects, and that's clearly one of the positives I have on my notes as well, Pat. Whether it's Howard or whether it's, the energy effects, especially when the doctor who basically gets possessed by the alien spirit, like he's changing from scene to scene. I did get a kick out of how his hair just keeps getting wilder and wilder as the scenes go on, and like the energy bolts he's putting out and all that stuff. From that to just some of the more simple practical effects I thought were done really well. Like he blocks the exit to the diner. He brings like tables and stuff together, and then when he spreads them back apart again, I mean, we all know that that's being sort of pulled on wires and stuff, but you can't see it. Like I couldn't see it, and it just looked really polished. The effects looked really, really polished.
And of course, obviously with Lucas involved, he's using, the in-house effects company that he has to make this happen. And I guess, again, going back, that would be a good positivity. If you're going to do it, at least you got some good practical effects from a certified company or that would be able to do it, has been doing effects for quite a long time instead of...
we're talking the top tier effects company in Hollywood. Industrial Light and Magic, right?
Instead of mom and pops doing it.
Yeah.
Yeah. I like that. Jarrod, you got another good stuff you want to share?
I do, Pat. You've been friends with me long enough to know that I greatly reward bonkersness. I like bonkers things for the most part. I mean, Rollerblade 7 was bonkers, but not the way Jarrod likes it.
That was off the rails. That one was off the rails.
That's funny.
So, according to your bonkers scale, is this over easy?
Oh, you're doing egg jokes again, aren't you?
Yes.
This is just scrambled. It's all scrambled.
It's a scrambled. Like so bonkers it was scrambled.
I just do love bonkers, and this is really ratcheted up. It's bonkersness, and I like that. I mean, I do. If you had told me before I ever watched it that there's going to be Tim Robbins and Howard the Duck doing weird stuff on an ultralight.
Oh man, I love that part.
I would have been like, what? That's bonkers. So I like that. I love the bonkersness of the doctor that turned into, being possessed by the evil alien. And like the most brilliant thing they did is sort of bounce that off the waitress at the Cajun sushi bar, which in and of itself was pretty good. That was a pretty good bit. And you notice all these things I'm talking about are kind of what you were talking about. Like it's all in the back half.
Yeah.
Like the back half of the movie is a bit more fun, I think. It's good times back there. I just feel like, I think they spent a little too much time getting to that, trying to like, well, let's see what it's like if Howard works at this sort of bizarrely sexual hot tub rental. Like, again, is another scene. Anyway, we're going to give me the good stuff. I'm not allowed to complain anymore.
Yeah.
It is bonkers, and I like the bonkersness.
I liked the fun, action-y stuff that was happening on the back half of this movie. You mentioned the ultralight. I've always wanted to getting one of those things or fly one of those things, I thought, like, how cool would it be to just fly around over the Wisconsin area that I'm in and fly. And I've seen a lot of ultralights around. I live close to one of the, I guess, the biggest air show in the country, EAA. Oshkosh, yes. I live close to that. They're probably around this time, too, as a kid, my aunt and uncle's farm is at the runway of EAA. So I would go there during the summer. We had a lot of people camping from all over the world, and and it was farmland, so they would have ultralights all around. I'm like, man, cool. I want to do one of these things as a kid. And so that's just a little positive.
You still can if you want. I mean,
yeah.
I
probably can.
It is more popular in your area, so you should totally check Craigslist because people are going to be unloading them. And
I bet, but
they don't require a lot of. There's not a lot of regulations.
No, you just gotta, they don't go that high. And I thought it'd be cool just to, but fun action scene that they did with an ultralight. I thought it was really cool. The kind of hijinks that they would get into, especially with Howard being a duck. He's like, can't you fly? You just got, and he finally
can't fly and he can't swim. That's the best thing about Howard the duck.
Fun, bonky stuff, but I enjoyed it. And any other good stuff you want?
Leah Thompson's really pretty.
Yes.
That's the whole thing. It's fun to see Tim Robbins before he's like a serious Shawshank Redemption kind of actor.
Yeah.
Having some fun.
And speaking about Leah Thomas, this was made after Back to the Future.
True.
Or it was released after Back to the Future. Back to the Future was 1985. So interesting to see,
her next career choice.
Well, yeah, like I said, was it, or did it take a little bit longer for them to do all the effects a little bit more? Well, I guess Back to the Future probably had a lot of decent.
Yeah, I bet once they sort of wrapped shooting on Back to the Future, there's probably several months of editing before it hit it, and she's probably filming this while they were doing the final edits on Back to the Future. And, I made a joke, but who could blame her? I mean, if you're just coming off of a sort of a Spielberg-produced Zemeckis film, and the next bite at the apple you have is a George Lucas-produced film,
she's gotten in somewhere and was able to.
Yeah, I mean, you're not going to say no. I mean, George Lucas and Steven Spielberg are clearly friends, and so I'm quite certain, at least I'm doing this out with the duck, and I need a talented, pretty young lead, and I'm sure Spielberg was like, I got the gal for you. She's in Back to the Future. She's great. That's probably how it went down.
Yeah, definitely.
Bonkers movie that you should absolutely get together with some friends. This is the kind of fun movie you get to get with your friends and you watch on the couch, as opposed to Rollerblade Sim, which I know because we've done this now. Someone in like the Crusaders Club, the next time we say what you want us to cover, is going to have us cover Rollerblade 7, and I just don't know if we can make it through that. We
made it through it.
We might have to deny the Posi-Cast on that one.
Oh man, yes. All right. Well, let's go ahead and wrap up with some final thoughts on this one. As Jarrod said, it was a mismatch. Sunny side up, sunny side down. Kind of.
You're still doing egg jokes.
Yeah, I'm trying to.
Trying to crack into those egg jokes.
Yep, trying to crack them in here and see what hatches. We'll see.
Yes.
Jarrod, what's your final thoughts on Howard the Duck?
I kind of already spilled them. It's great to get some pizzas and some
beers,
some beers if you need beers. Sit around with your friends and sort of relive the magicness of the 80s. It does still have sort of that 80s magic in it. I think a lot of it comes from the music and the fashions, of course.
The fashion, yeah.
And you can just absolutely have fun with it. This is a movie that you can still have fun with. We sort of aired our true feelings about it before. And like I said, to me, it's very uneven, but I'd be lying if I said I regretted it. Like that one guy who said, he was like, what did he say? He was in the pit of despair. He was disgusted with himself or something. Like, I wouldn't say that. No, I've seen it twice now. I don't regret the time investment. I think it's definitely a part of 80s pop culture that can't be denied. There's plenty of other 80s stuff that's 80s pop culture that's, by today's standards or looking back, we'd be like, this is weird and hokey, but I love it. So I have to put this in that same box. So at the end of the day, if I was scaling this on a 1 to 10, which we don't really do on the show, but it just kind of, off the top of my head, I'd say Howard the Duck's probably about a 6 for me. It's still, I still enjoy it. What about you, Ben?
I think you're right. This is one that you would definitely go back and watch, or watch with some friends, or just watch again after it's been a little while, just to get that 80s nostalgic feel. Definitely clothes, hair, music. It was totally 80s with some wackiness and hijinks. I would give it a 6. I would recommend this one to people to go back and watch it, just to have some fun. You know, sometimes it's okay to watch something just for fun. You know, it's one of those that if I was going to watch it like a scary movie, I don't watch a lot of scary movies anymore, or ones that are really depressing or whatever. It's a good palate cleanser, you know?
Yeah, that's a good point. If you just wanted something a little fun. Yeah, it is a good palate cleanser. It's a good point.
You mentioned earlier, could this have been chopped down in time? Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, I think the pacing could have been a little better. A tight 90 would have probably been best for it. But, you know, I think it's the first Marvel movie.
I don't.
If not, if you're a Marvel movie nut, you know, and I think Deadpool versus Wolverine sort of brought back that, hey, what's in Marvel's past? But this is back there, folks. So if you want to,
surprised they didn't bring,
I really surprised they didn't bring Howard into it. But hey, it's out there, folks. And if you're a Marvel person and you've seen I've seen every MCU and spinoff, well, maybe not. Maybe you haven't seen Howard the Duck.
Yeah. If you have, I would really like to get some conversation in our comments, in the chats area, wherever you're at, watching us or listening to this on YouTube or X, wherever. Comment, please. And just, if you've read the Howard the Duck, does it match it? Does it not match it? I want to know that kind of history, or just understanding of Howard the Duck.
Yeah. Is it close to the comic books? Is it far off? Is it medium? We want to know.
Yeah. With that, let's get into the segment I promised earlier, the one that can help you and me in our day-to-day life. It is Jarrod's Positively Practical Sprinkles.
Thank you, Pat. Today's topic I called I've Seen That. And today's is going to be very modern. We're going to be talking about sharing memes and reels and videos on social medias. You see, like, especially on Instagram, you see a funny reel and you share it to a friend.
I was going to ask you, what do you mean by that?
It's too peppy. Pat's too peppy. So you share these memes and you share these reels with folks. And a lot of times if someone shares a reel with you that you've already seen, someone else has shared it with you, a lot of folks will respond with, oh, I've seen that. I've seen that. And a better tactic to take is sort of the same as when someone tells you a joke from back in the day before we had reels and memes. Sometimes people will tell you a joke and maybe you've heard it, but you let them finish the joke and you laugh along with them, because why would you want to, don't take their moment, because when someone sends you the reel or the meme or something like that, they're basically saying, hey, I saw something that made me think of you, and they're making that connection with you in your life. And when you say, I've already seen it, you send this subtle message that says, you know, if you're not sending me something that I've never seen before, I don't place as much value on it. What you're missing is the real connection there, that someone saw something that made them think of you. And it's a nice connection bond time of friendship and a build for your, as silly as it sounds, a build of your relationship. At least it's a connection, maybe not a build, but a sort of a stay in touch connection.
Yeah, I like that.
And so if someone sends you something like that and you say, oh, I've already seen that, then again, you kind of send them that message that I only value you if you're showing me something I haven't seen before, which is probably not your intent. That's probably not the intent that you're going with. I don't think anybody ever sets out to hurt someone's feelings like that, but that's oftentimes how it can be received, because again, the internet, texting, all that stuff, social media is impersonal because you're not in person. You're not seeing the body language. You're not hearing the
Mhm.
voice inflection. And so I just want to encourage folks, if you get something, even if you've already seen it, I think the minimum response would be to choose the little haha emoji, the laughing, or the LOL, or just say, that's funny, that's good stuff. You don't have to declare, I've seen it already. And it just makes the other person feel like, oh, well, I guess I wasted their time.
Well, I think too, Jarrod, you bring up a good point on that. It keeps that communication between those two people and builds that relationship even more. Like you said, just having somebody reach out to you, speaking from a personal point, the things that have kind of been going on in my personal life over the last year and a half or so, it really has meant a lot when people would just that quick reach out or, hey, I'm thinking of you. And they do that. That means so much. Even in this quick day and age where it's just a simple text or whatever, it's not like you're writing a big letter and, hey, buddy, I'm writing you by my pen pal. And these simple things of sending a funny meme that makes you think of somebody, or even just sending something that is more uplifting or inspirational comment or something that, hey, was thinking of you today, thought you might like this, means a lot to somebody, because you don't really know sometimes what they're going through, what's happening to them at that moment, that you could be actually just providing them some sort of uplifting moment for themselves. It's like doing this podcast and starting the podcast network. The whole part of the Longbox Crusade is putting a smile on somebody's face just by listening to us talk. And if we just do one person, to hear that back to saying, hey, I listened to you guys, I'm having a bad day and you guys made me laugh. That just means what we're doing is really cool. And it just means a lot to us. So
I concur. So how you respond when people reach out is important. Show them a little appreciation, show them a laugh, show them, even if you've seen it before, give them a little LOL. Great example. One of our Crusaders Club members, Albert Elvis, sent me a great little G.I. Joe music video. It's a few years old. I've never seen it before. And it cracked me up when I watched it. So I shared it to my G.I. Joe friends, one of which is our friend Aaron Head Moss. And his response when I sent it to him was, I love this. All right. Now I figured out, because he responded about 8 seconds after I sent it to him. So he clearly didn't watch the video. He'd already seen it before. I knew he'd seen it. But what a nice response. I love this. As opposed to, I've seen this before. See the big difference there?
Exactly.
What a change in the tone and the spin. And it made me smile when I saw that from Aaron. I love this. Now, that's just a great example that happened today. So take that in your life, folks, and mull that over, and maybe just think about how you respond when people send you stuff. Even though I'm certain people who said, oh, I've seen this before, never meant to be hurtful. And it's not like, oh, it's going to wound that person for life, but put a positive spin on it, like our friend Aaron did in that response. And with that, it's time to give out some more positivity and show some love to our Crusaders Club members. These are the fine folks who have joined the Crusaders Club. They enjoy early access to special Longbox episodes. They get raffle giveaways. They get to vote on show programming and so much more. These are the folks reaping the benefits and giving so much appreciated support to the show.
Ellen W. Wright.
And Helica Wolf.
Auburn Elvis.
Bill Beer.
Billy D.
Bradley D. Yellow.
Braxton Underwood.
Carrie.
Clinton Robinson.
Captain Entropy.
Clark Westfield.
Dave Collins.
Battle Wagon.
Eric Hodges.
Eric Porter.
Ezra Gallo.
Gary V.
Gene Hendricks.
George Meal.
Gerald Green.
Heinz K.
Jason Super Keen.
Jason Lady.
Jeff Polier.
Jeremy L.
Jim Jarman. I hope you like Jim Jarman too.
And Jim Meal.
Joe Man Conan.
Joe Thomas.
John Watson.
Josh Strickland.
Candace Ward.
Captivating Kathy Bright, the MVP.
Matt and Lizzie Passo.
Mark Ross.
Maxwell Traver.
Michael Minton.
Miranda W.
P.D. Devins.
Paul Hicks.
Rick from Jeff and Rick Present.
Ronald Easter Day.
Rob Morgan.
Samantha Maney,
Sean Urbanski,
Spidey 67,
Spreadsheet,
Steve Cronin,
Tim Price,
Tony Pennington,
and Toronto Cop. As always, if we missed anyone, we apologize. Just remember, we record these well in advance of release, so if you're a recent edition, we'll add you soon. No worries. Always let us know we missed you by sending an email to contact@longboxcrusade.com. We'll get it straightened out. If you're asking yourself, how do I become a Crusaders Club member? www.patreon.com/longboxcrusade will get you there. Low price, $1 a month. Of course, you can give more. Pat and I would love to retire and do podcasting full time. So if you want to get in there and just drop $50,000 a month, we'll mention you first when we do our list of Crusaders Club. We'll put you at the top of the list. And it is time for us to get into our feedback on our last episode where we covered the Green Lantern film from 2000 and something. I don't know. Is the one with Ryan Reynolds. Let's see what folks had to say about that.
Well, Jarrod, I'll take one from The Hammer Strikes and random geeky stuff. And Gene says, the late, great Sean Ingle and I had a pretty in-depth conversation about this one, and they provided a link to that podcast where they covered the Green Lantern episode. So if you guys can go into our chats, I believe it's on the Twitter or on the X, so go there if you want to take a listen to that and hear some other thoughts about.
Yeah, it's Green over Lantern on the Two True Freaks
Network. Yep.
All right, so we got another comment. I think this one's from Facebook from Shane Vandergriff. And Shane says, well, it's not the worst comic book movie. It could have been way better for Green Lantern's first on-screen appearance. Ryan Reynolds was so poorly cast as Hal Jordan. But to me, he played the part decently. The main blame to me was the horrible script and two very poor choices for Green Lantern villains. They got the feel right, though, and the space world of the Green Lantern. But I think it was the wrong director, too. I'm not going to fight Shane on any of that, although I will remind everybody that upon rewatching it, it was better than we both remembered it to be. So,
and I think Ryan Reynolds was a good young Hal Jordan.
Yeah, maybe it'd be interesting to see if I know he would never return to. Well, never. It's Hollywood. You never. It's Hollywood. You see him do it as an older, more mature. Well, I don't know. Ryan Reynolds and mature are two words that go together, but you know what I'm saying. Yeah. But no, I mean, again, I'm not going to fight Shane. I think he's right, especially about, we talked about this on the show, they brought in Hector Hammond.
Yeah.
They rushed to get to Parallax.
Yep.
And it was like they tried to do too much at once.
Yeah.
Now, I can't get on board with what Shane's saying about wrong director, because that's Martin Campbell, who directed GoldenEye, which is the greatest movie of all time. So I but maybe not the right fit for a superhero movie. I don't know. But what I do know is I appreciate Shane weighing in with his thoughts. Thanks for stopping by, Shane.
Yes. Speaking about somebody with their thoughts, let's go to Jim Meal. And Jim says, as much as it pains me to agree with Jarrod, and that's being positive, I would put this movie over many of the latest Marvel and DC movies as well. I just watched the Marvels last weekend, and I fell asleep as well as Pat did, so I don't feel bad. Oh yeah, I don't know what it was.
Apparently, Marvels was the movie you watched to get your snooze fest on. I guess I haven't seen it, so I can't weigh in.
It was that whole bucket of popcorn that I ate. But thanks, Jim, for backing me up on the snooze fest. But I do agree too that Green Lantern wasn't as bad as some of the DC stuff. So
some of the Marvel stuff. Anyway, that's just our opinions.
Yeah.
Mitch Bray checked in, and Mitch said, I really enjoyed this movie. I don't think it deserved the hate it got. And ultimately, I agree with you as well, Mitch. There are certainly picadillos, as we talked about in Shane's comments. But overall, I don't regret watching it.
And I'll take a last comment from Daniel Key Milner. And Daniel says, it has almost got a 5-star rating on, I think, Max. I have liked it from the start. And that's cool that on the Max streaming platform that HBO Max, that it has a 5-star, almost a 5-star rating on it. I think people's maybe more warming up to it as things go by, and if anything, it's earlier Ryan Reynolds, so you can kind of see where he's developing his characters or acting chops or things like that.
And I think a new generation of movie watchers are discovering it now. There's like they're getting old enough, like my son's age, freshman in college, he's probably going to look at it with new eyes, and he's going to bounce it off of the more modern comic book movies he's seen. And I don't think it's too far out of line from that, as we talked about. So, yeah, I hear you, Daniel. That's cool.
And speaking about being cool, that's going to bring us to the end of this episode of Pop Culture Posi-Cast. If you'd like to hear more from us in the realm of comic books, action films, vintage TV, movies, serials, and more, go and check out the entire LONGBOX CRUSADE network. Jazz and Jarrod. Where can that stuff be found?
Well, Pat, I am thrilled that you inquired. You can find LONGBOX CRUSADE on pretty much any podcatcher. In fact, if you look up LONGBOX CRUSADE on your podcatcher of choice and we're not on there, we want to know about it. And check out www.longboxcrusade.com and X, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube at LONGBOX CRUSADE. And of course, you can leave us a voicemail at 707-532-5269. That's 707-532-LBOX.
Pick up the phone. Pick up the phone.
Sung to the tune of Howard the Duck. Back to you, Peppy Pat.
All right, Jarrod. Thank you. And if you want to chat with us online, I can be found at Christatos01 on the X. Jarrod, where can you be found?
I can be found on X, Facebook, Instagram, Skip, Scap, Skaboddle, and Turtlebox. The last two aren't real. At Yard Sale Artist. So check me out at Yard Sale Artist on 3 of the 5 I mentioned.
You can also look up the Yard Sale Artist on DuckDuckGo.
Stop it.
I just thought of that one.
Something webbed feet.
The web. DuckDuckGo is real.
I know it's real. Finish the show, Pat. You're getting all my jazziness. You're wasting all my jazziness.
Thank you for joining us for this episode of Pop Culture Posi-Cast. We really have fun doing these, and I always look forward to finding some joy in the next thing we do. So we also look forward to chatting with you, so make sure you're making those comments wherever you are listening to us. And remember, as the old Native American tale tells us, we each have 2 wolves that battle inside us, one positive and uplifting, and one negative and burdensome.
Which one wins, Pat?
The one that you feed.
The music themes for this show are done by musical genius Joe November. Please check out his SoundCloud at Josephlin99. That's Joseflin99. You will not regret it.